My name is Bond.
James Bond.
Shaken, not stirred.
Do you expect me to talk? No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
I'm now aiming precisely at your groin.
That's not funny, 007.
For England, James? No.
Hello everyone and welcome back to Enter the BondVerse, where we're going through every single James Bond movie. I am Kyle. I am joined as always by my wonderful co-host Nathan. Say hello.
Hello. I have a waxwork figure of Kyle in my room.
That's totally normal and not creepy at all. But Nathan, check again. Look closer. It's me.
Oh yeah! Oh my God. I was wondering why you weren't wearing your jacket. Your fingers had regrown.
This all makes perfect sense if you've seen the movie, don't worry. Because this week we are doing the 1974 classic, The Man with the Golden Gun.
Brilliant.
It is brilliant, Nathan, because I want to get into this straight away. I really like this movie. I think this is one of the best we've done so far. But Nathan, this movie has a 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. Why?
Well, so what I actually would like to mention before we get really into the nitty-gritty of this is the final Bond movie directed by Guy Hamilton.
Yes, we hadn't really brought this up, but we've been on a bit of a Guy Hamilton streak.
Yes, we have been. It occurred to me watching this, he started with Goldfinger, and because Goldfinger's like their, the big Bond high watermark, they brought him back for Diamonds Are Forever and was like, right, okay, you're just going to do all of our Bond movies now.
Yes.
I briefly read, looking into this, that this is the only Bond movie he regrets making. He feels he was the wrong director for this.
Interesting.
I can't see where he's coming from.
No, I like this movie.
Yeah, so do I. I haven't, again, as we're awful researchers, we're just yappers on this show. I'm not sure really what his overall problem with this film is, because I think it's all fun. I do think that you could cut out all the solar stuff and this film could still have worked if you just tighten the character bonds a bit.
Sure. Oh yeah, it's not like a perfect movie, but I do think it's it holds together pretty well. It's got a good villain.
It's got a brilliant villain. I really like this villain. I think we've been in a bit of a streak of villains I've enjoyed. Yeah,
I like this villain, and I think this movie has a lot of good, fun spy stuff, which some of the other movies don't really have so much, sort of traditional, espionage type stuff going on.
True. Bond's off the reserve, kind of, for 50 minutes in this film. Where he has
a slightly larger role in this movie than usual.
Yes, he does. I think he eats into probably what would otherwise be Moneypenny's screen time.
Yeah, well, true.
There's one scene in this movie, but M just keeps coming back, and then Q's there quite a bit.
Which is good, because we missed Q last week.
Yeah, so we're getting more Q, which is always a good thing.
But anyway, I mean, the star of this show is, of course, Christopher Lee. Oh my goodness, what a get for this movie.
What a get for this movie. Obviously, this is pre-Count Dooku, pre-Saruman. This is a Christopher Lee not widely known to the world, especially American audiences. I
mean, yeah, at this point he would mostly be known for Dracula, right?
Yep, absolutely. So you've got Count Dracula in your film, and he's your Bond movie. And honestly, great get. He wore that third nipple like a champ.
What odd character detail, but sure.
Yeah, and what's so weird is that it's a really good prop. It looks really real.
I mean, it's not super hard. It's not, Nathan, it's not the same as trying to make someone look Chinese. You could throw together a third nipple and it'll look pretty good.
I thought it was going to look like a big piece of Play-Doh.
Here's what I don't understand, right? This is one of my early notes, because we have this introduction scene sort of introducing us to Scaramanga, and that's his name, by the way, is, what's his first name?
Oh, does it start with an M?
Something like his name is Scaramanga, which is a good name.
Cast of the Man with the Golden Gun.
I'm gonna show you a picture of a cast that's been made.
Francesco
Scaramanga, yeah. We're introduced to him and his manservant Knick-Knack.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll have thoughts on.
Oh, Knick-Knack, a loyal servant to the very end.
He has his whole, his house is set up like a weird fun house, but it's fine. We later learn that he grew up in the circus, so it's all good.
Absolutely, yes.
And he's got a trap for your favourite mobster, obviously.
My favourite mobster, Mark Lawrence, who's back as a whole new character, not who he was in Diamonds Are Forever. But
I assume this guy is just, forever cast as, mobster goon, right?
Yeah, probably. And indeed, Star Trek aliens in the 80s.
He just got that look.
Yes, absolutely. He has so he has a really good line. So when he's walking around Scaramanga's funhouse, and you see the waxworks of Al Capone and the mob in Chicago, he shoots him because he's really got a real Tommy gun, I think, that's firing, or it's just sound effects, I'm not sure, but he shoots the arm off and the gun falls to the floor. Now this Al Capone waxwork figure is armless, and this mobster guy goes, "Hey Al, whatever you are, don't hold it against me." So this guy knows Al Capone, or knew Al Capone, because he's an old guy, you know? Which I think's a lovely little detail, because we always, I guess at this point, the Al Capone days is maybe 100 years ago for us. But back then in the 70s, if you've got an old mobster doing a thing, he probably knew Al Capone. It's realistic, you know? Mm-hmm. One of those things where history kind of warps and stretches and condenses, and everything feels really close together all of a sudden.
What's fun about this opening scene too is it's a trial run for the end of the movie. It all comes back around, but in this scene, Scaramanga himself is taking the role of James Bond, so Knick-Knack is fucking with his boss. Yeah. And be "Oh, how are you gonna get your gun? Ha ha ha."
Yeah, what I quite like about it is I think they must do this sometimes. This happens a lot, you know?
The villain's practicing.
Yeah, the villain practices, and Knick-Knack essentially sets up these scenarios for Scaramanga to try and outwit some assassin he brings to the island. It's almost like a horror film, actually, from the point of view of the assassin. He's here to do a job, he's a professional, he's taking the money, half the money, mind you, he gets the other half when the job's complete. And Knick-Knack sort of... the film kind of would give you the impression, as the cold open, that Knick-Knack's trying to betray his boss. Yes. But then at the end, when it's all said and done and Scaramanga wins the day, he's "Great work, Knick-Knack. Thank you for another good game."
Yes. I guess we should just say it. Knick-Knack is a little person who's also very French.
Very French, yes. In this film, they do actively call him a midget.
They do that. I was not going to say that, but yes.
They do. They do.
But you know what? He's great, actually. I really like him.
Yeah, I really like Knick-Knack, yeah. I'm familiar with the actor. I believe he was in the... What's the Island of Dr. Monroe? But it's the one with Khan from Star Trek.
Your movie knowledge is much better than mine.
Oh, I can't remember the name of the film. But anyway, who plays Kang? What's his name? Look, I keep wanting to say Giancarlo Esposito.
Kang?
Of Khan.
Khan. Oh, I know the guy. I can see his open chest and his long hair, but I don't know.
Cast of The Wrath of Khan. The Wrath of Cannon?
No. We're on a tangent.
Oh, I need to clear this up, though. Ricardo Montalban. Right. Ricardo Montalban, he is in a film with this actor who plays Knick-Knack. The actor, by the way, who we should say is Harvey Villacci. I think it's a hard to pronounce name.
Yeah, he and Scaramanga both are just a great dynamic duo throughout this movie.
Absolutely, yeah. You could really feel that almost they have a friendship.
No, it's good. Yeah, Scaramanga just such a great villain. He's great because he's having a great time.
Yes, yeah, he's having fun with it. This isn't overly serious to him, and I think that Christopher Lee does such a good job of really selling every single word that comes out of his mouth. I never go, "Oh, really? Is that what you think?" I'm no, I believe that's what you think.
But then we cut into the intro, and Nathan, it's a banger.
It is, yeah, performed by Lulu. This song, "The Man with the Golden Gun."
You know what I love about this song is how blunt and direct the lyrics are. It's like Lulu just read the script and put the script into the lyrics. He has a powerful weapon. He charges $1 million a shot. He needs love before the kill.
Yes, he does.
That's a plot point in the movie. Literally everything in this song is just things that happen in the movie.
Yeah, it's spoiler alert. Actually, you're "Oh, great! I don't need to see this film now." Oh, it's ruined it for me. But it's a really catchy song as well. It's got the electric guitar. It's quite funk, you know?
It's funk. I love the music cue that comes throughout this movie. It's just great.
The little motif, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they do it on different instruments, like when he's in China or he's in Thailand and he's in the karate school or the judo school. And they've got like their own regional version of the motif playing.
Yep. There's also one in the Funhouse. There's like a Western version that plays for one point.
Yes, there is.
Which like the last movie means that the theme is technically diegetic in the movie, but you know.
Yes, but it's not performed by Lulu, but it's a song that exists.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we should say we come out of the opening sequence and we're right into a meeting with Bond and M.
This is kind of funny because M is like, "Hey, say Bond, what do you know about the man with the golden gun?" And it turns out Bond knows a lot about the man with the golden gun, just off the top of his head.
Yeah, it's one of those times where Bond actually is sort of in the loop, maybe.
Yeah, Bond just gives us like a crapload of exposition about Scaramanga.
This movie has multiple scenes where there's just like really lazy exposition given out in the film.
There
I
is.
hope you don't notice. Maybe I could see maybe that's why Guy Hamilton doesn't like it, because I believe he said in an interview in I think the early 2000s that he's made some bad films before and maybe you don't work with the writers, maybe not as compliant as you'd like them to be. He's almost like throwing the writer under the bus but not directly doing it. Mm-hmm. But I think he just thinks that it's like a really shoddy script or something that he's not proud of. Because I can imagine people being really sensitive to exposition, and this film does kind of treat the audience like idiots.
I don't know how it treats it. It's just like, we have a lot of stuff we need to get across, and this is the laziest way to do it, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
But anyway, the thing I find most funny about this whole situation is Bond is explaining Scaramanga, and for some reason, and I'll never understand this, they don't know what he looks like, but they do know that he has 3 nipples. And I don't know how you get to that situation where you don't know what he looks like, but do know that he has 3 nipples. Did someone?
I bet word on the street,
see his torso only?
I believe word on the street is a hell of a thing, right? And
I mean, look, here's the thing about having 3 nipples. Like, it's unique, but it's only going to come up in very specific situations, right?
Yeah, but if you see, like, there's an old henchman that worked with him back in the day before he built up the mythos of who he was, and he was at a pool party and he had his shirt off briefly and somebody saw he had the 3rd nipple. People aren't exactly taking pictures maybe back then, but all the time. But like, they're, word of mouth. Oh, by the way, he's got a 3rd. That's the thing you're going to talk about, I can believe that there's like a grapevine, and Bond being an assassin for the British government, he's going to know about like big name contract killers around the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, that's his deal. As Lulu explained, he is a man. He always shoots with gold billets, and he charges $1 million per assassination. Yes. He charges $1 million for every kill.
Yeah, he does. And
he
very
can afford
good at his
that
job.
Because he's very good. He's the best. Yeah.
He is the best. Spectre should hire him.
Spectre should hire him, but no Spectre in this movie.
No Spectre. In 2 movies, Spectre down.
But yeah, okay. So the reason that M is called in is because they have received a golden billet with 007 engraved on it, which suggests that he is the next target of the man with the golden gun. Yeah,
so M's quite troubled by this, and Bond's quite like, he's like, well, I gotta go find him, and M's like, no, you're gonna...
Well, no, Bond is like, well, no, I have to protect this solar power man.
Yeah, apparently, that's the mission he's on. But like, M's like, you can either resign now and I'll accept your resignation, or it's time to keep your head down and have a very nice sabbatical, and we'll let you know when this is all wrapped up.
Yes.
But like, they've had previous dealings with the man with the golden gun before, apparently.
Yes, 002 was murdered by the man with the golden gun.
Poor old Bill Fairbanks.
Bill Fairbanks.
Yeah, Bill Fairbanks, 002.
There's a lot of 00 agents that die off screen in these movies.
Remember that meeting in, was it Goldfinger, where there's just all the 00 agents sitting in a big semicircle?
I think that was Thunderball.
Was that Thunderball? I wonder if Bill Fairbanks was there. He was sitting near the end, Probably.
I think he only died, like, in the last couple of years,
He died in 69, and this is 74? Yeah.
This is 74. 5 years ago. What year was Thunderball? Thunderball was 65, so yeah, he was in that meeting.
He was in that meeting, or he was very new to the job at the time. He did first mission out and he's dead. Now, even though M's telling him to take a sabbatical or resign, Bond says, it wouldn't be a bad thing if I were to find him before you, though, would it, M? And he says, no, it wouldn't be. That would be quite a good thing, actually. So
Yeah.
there's a little kind of a half smile that feels like it's so recessed under the British imperialistic training that M's got. And he just says, right, on your way, Bond, get out of my office.
Yeah. M is basically saying, like, I can't approve you going on this mission, but go find him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then later on, he gets all the full force of the British government behind him anyway, so it really feels like a pointless interaction, actually.
Well, that's after, like, Goldfinger comes, or not Man with the Golden Gun becomes wrapped up in the solar power plot.
That's
right?
true. That's very true.
They don't know that he's involved in that right now.
Yeah. So, obviously, this is where M's talking about the death of Bill Fairbanks. Out in the reception, you know, we all miss Bill. Good old Bill. Everyone liked Bill. He was a nice guy. But Scaramanga killed him back in 1969 in Beirut. And he was with a woman at the time.
And they could never prove that it was the Man with the Golden Gun because they could never find the billet.
You could never find the bullet, no. There was an exit wound and no bullet to be found.
Uh-huh. And no one thought to check the woman who was standing right next to him.
Who apparently used it as a belly button charm.
Bizarre, yes. This
She
is
was
a
a
very
belly
strange
dancer.
character.
Very strange character. Now, I want to mention here that the head of this little club that she's dancing in, that Bond goes to sit and observe the performance of. Is this Wilson Fisk?
It's either Wilson Fisk or Blofeld, that's for sure.
This looks a heck. I think he's just too big to be Blofeld. I mean, I guess Blofeld changes so much now, but he just gives off big kingpin energy. He looks like the dad of Vincent D'Onofrio. Big kingpin energy. But it never comes to much. Bond does a big fight and kills everyone, or knocks everyone out.
I think this is a fun fight. They smash every single thing in this dressing room. It's great. They're smashing into mirrors. He uses perfume at one point to spray someone's face. Yeah,
he does. He does do that.
I love a fight scene that incorporates all the stuff in the room, you know?
Yes. So do I. It's really making the most of your space.
But we do have to point out, Bond, he has a great line when he's trying to seduce this lady and steal the charm off of her, which is this billet. And he's coming down and he's kissing her and he says, "You really do have a magnificent abdomen."
Yeah. It's not quite a bit.
It's not really a bit. It's just like a weird thing to say.
A weird observation of anatomy, yeah. And then at the end of the fight, she screams in horror and says, "I've lost my charm."
Not from where I'm standing.
Not from where I'm standing.
Because during the fight scene, Bond accidentally swallows it.
Which is just wonderful.
So during half of this fight scene, he's also choking to death.
God, I think Roger Moore's quite good in this film as well.
He's great.
Yeah, he definitely plays everything quite like someone who's slightly out of their depth, but is just very good at recovering.
But yeah, when he escapes and gets in the taxi, he goes to the pharmacy with the implication that he's going to pick up some laxatives, I think.
Yeah, apparently so. The nearest pharmacy. It's also, for some reason, the Q branch outfit in Beirut. That's quite convenient.
Well, I think that was a difference. I think that was a different place afterwards. I don't think that was the pharmacy.
The way within the language of the film, he says, "Take me to the nearest pharmacy." He drives away and it smash cuts to we're in Q's laboratory.
Well, that's after he's passed the billet though, because they're analysing the billet. So
possible. I just assumed that they got this all done at Q's place. That what you're saying probably makes more sense, but within the language of the movie, I heavily just got the impression that the nearest pharmacy was somehow Q's shop.
I think this movie has an interesting use of Q because there's not really any gadgets in this movie. This is more Q like the scientist and analyst as opposed to Q the gadget maker.
Yes, though he is working on a flying car.
He is working on a flying car, and they're making some explosions in the background.
Yeah, I always like seeing Q shenanigans in the background, you know?
What I like about this scene is there's another scientist there, and Q and this other guy are geeking out about all this billet facts, and Bond's just standing there like, I have no clue what these guys are talking about.
Yeah. All Bond knows is there's no such thing as a 4.2mm gun. One doesn't exist. But it was a 4.2mm golden bullet that killed 002.
And these two guys are like, oh, it must be this guy. I can't remember his name.
A guy called Lazar, who's Portuguese.
Lazar. And Bond's like, what's Lazar? And Q just has this great exasperated delivery. I always love Q's delivery. He's like, chap who made the bullet 007. It's the most obvious thing ever.
Yeah, Bond, are you even listening to what we're talking about? Yeah, absolutely. Bond's a bad spy.
Bond's a bad spy, yeah, because he goes to this place, he meets Lazar and he says, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Bond. It's like, yeah, that's because he's a bad spy. He shouldn't have a reputation. He should be anonymous because he's a spy. But of course he does, because everywhere he goes, "Oh, my name's Bond, James Bond," and he introduces himself with his full legal name.
Yes, he does. He does, absolutely. Well, at this point, Kel, this Portuguese man called Lazar, who makes the golden bullets for Scaramanga, he operates out of Hong Kong. So we're going to Hong Kong. And in this, we pass like a sunken ship, the Queen Mary, that sank back in 1971.
I assume this is real.
Well, that's 3 years ago, and this ship looks like it sunk a lot longer than 3 years ago. And I also thought maybe this was like a reference to the cruise liner they were on at the end of Diamonds Are Forever or something, because it just felt like a really weird thing to linger on.
I didn't look this up. I have to assume this is a real thing that happened in the Hong Kong harbour.
Probably. It just felt like, oh, that's the year Connery's last movie came out and they ended in a cruise liner. Could this have been that ship or something? But no, it's just a big ass ship in the middle of the Hong Kong harbour. And we're going to come back to that later, but I was just like, why are we lingering on it? Apparently there's a good reason for it. But when we get to Hong Kong...
Yes, it's set up and payoff is what it is.
Set off and payoff is exactly what it is. But when we arrive in Hong Kong, Kyle, there's someone waiting for Bond at the ferry port. And it's someone by the name of Mary Goodnight.
Mary Goodnight, yes.
Someone who's just immensely over heels for Bond. Well, yes. Even though she just works in the office intelligence building.
This is after he's found out, like, where the billet is and stuff, because...
Was this after he's met Lazar?
This is after he's met Lazar, yeah.
Right, okay.
Because he meets Lazar, and we get one of our intro lines, good stuff, because Lazar has made this gun that you operate. He made it for someone who lost their fingers, so you operate it with, like, the butt. You could have slammed the butt to fire the gun.
Yes.
But yes, and Bond, he does threaten this guy, which, really, Lazar, you should have seen this coming. You're in a gun shop, someone's going to threaten you with one of your guns. You probably should have accounted for this, but, you know.
Yeah, it probably would have been something you would have thought up if you were actually competent.
He doesn't seem like a very, like, well-trained criminal, considering he makes guns for assassins, but whatever.
Yeah, you're right.
Bond does aim precisely at his groin.
Oh, so. He does, yes, he does. I'm now aiming precisely at your groin. Yeah,
so
you're
speak now, or forever hold your peace.
And he decides to start yapping, doesn't he?
Of course, yes. He doesn't want to lose his peace, Nathan.
Well, yes, who would, frankly? Oh, you're right. Yeah, I'm reading my notes back to front here because I'm just reading that I'm now aiming precisely at your groin before the sunken Queen Mary ship in Hong Kong Bay.
Yeah, so, I don't think this is in Hong Kong. I think this is somewhere else.
It's not. You're right. You're I didn't know where it was, but you're right. It's not Hong Kong because we go to Hong Kong after this.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so Lazar reveals that he smuggles these billets to Scaramanga in little cigarette packs. So Bond basically takes over the job of the deliveryman he goes with Lazar to deliver them and sort of follows and ghosts him to see where the billets go.
Yes, but this is in Hong Kong, I'm sure, because...
This is in Hong Kong,
yeah, we've met Mary Goodnight at this point, and she's just like... He asks her if she can track, like, a green Rolls Royce, and she finds, like, the question just stupid. And he's like, what's silly about a green Rolls Royce? And she says, like, all green Rolls Royces are, like, listed to this certain casino or something like that. Like, it's a custom job.
They're the car, for the hotel. So
that's where we go, and then that's where we're seeing this very weird gambling table with buckets and coming down from the ceiling and stuff.
Yeah, I do want to talk about, like, the Mary Goodnight, because she is the Bond girl of this movie, basically.
Yeah.
And... yeah, the dynamic between her and Bond is really weird, because at this point it seems like she's head over heels for Bond, and Bond kind of is just annoyed by her. For the first time ever, Bond doesn't want to have sex with a woman, it seems, but that changes later for no reason.
Yep, absolutely. These two characters keep sort of coming on to each other when the other one's not interested, and it keeps switching back and forward over the course of the film.
Yes, it's very inconsistent.
It is very inconsistent. But this cigarette packet with the golden gun bullets inside, quite cleverly delivered. Goes in a bucket with some cash, up the bucket, and a woman is waiting at the top. So Bond's also up there, sees who takes it. This is sort of where we leave Lazar. He sort of exits the film, stage left here.
Yes.
And now
Lazar has served his narrative purpose.
Yeah, he doesn't die, he just disappears. Good for him. One of the few people that gets out alive. And we're now just following this woman to her hotel. And Bond decides with a bottle of champagne.
Now we get some classic Bond creepiness.
Yeah, we do. He gets a bottle of champagne, gets the waiter to open the hotel room door because his hands are full. And he watches this woman shower naked.
Yep.
And she has a gun, though, and he says, a water pistol.
I'm glad you're making quips about the sexual harassment, Bond.
Yeah,
Good
Bond,
for you.
she could shoot you and she'd be well within her rights.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. Frankly, Bond, I think you should. Listen, so I've some of my notes here would be to word as if yes, I completely agree with you. But we know this lady to be a hostile actor against Bond, or think to be at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is on a mission to find out the man that's apparently given a golden bullet to MI6 with his number on it, right?
Yeah.
She knows this is the woman that collected the golden bullets. He's of course going to be somewhat hostile to her in this moment. You know, I'm actually somewhat sympathetic to him after she gets out of the shower.
Here's my bigger issue, right? Is he's trying to track Scaramanga, so why does he even bother interrogating this woman at all? He should just follow her to Scaramanga.
Yes, absolutely could do that as well. But maybe he's just worried that he'll lose her, so he's like, let's just get information out of her now.
I mean, sure. It seems like the foolish play to me, but
yeah. Within the language of we know it's a James Bond movie, of course the script could just have it dictates that he follows her and nothing goes wrong, and we save like 30 minutes of the movie. But yeah, he doesn't know that. He doesn't know he's in a film. Maybe he's just worried he's going to lose her. You know.
I mean, he just wanted to slap her in the face, is what happens, because he does do that quite forcefully too.
You know, these cigarette packets have government warning labels on them for no good reason. You know.
But yeah, so then Bond blackmails her into helping her, because he's like, well, if Scaramanga found out about this conversation, he might try and murder you, which I don't think is necessarily true, but sure.
Well, can we sort of jump into a reveal about this character? This is someone called Anders.
I was going to say Andrea Anders, I think her name is.
Andrea Anders. So apparently she's the one who sent the 007 bullet to MI6 to enlist the aid of Bond. Now,
she kind of feels trapped by Scaramanga.
If this is true, why isn't she telling him this now?
Yeah, I do not know. This doesn't. Yeah, she doesn't strike me as very smart.
It seems to me that this would be the perfect time to bring it up.
No, yeah, you're right. Yeah, she could have just said, "Oh, I sent the bullet because I want your help." Yeah, there's no reason not to.
And actually, I think in a Bond movie of previous days watched, that's exactly what would have happened. If Connery was here, she would have fessed up immediately because no one could resist Sean Connery.
No, it's true. Yeah, his charm is immaculate.
Yeah, Roger Moore's just not got that Connery edge.
He needs to work out a little bit more.
Wait, I never mentioned, apparently last week Guy Hamilton did tell Roger Moore not to do a Sean Connery impersonation. That's wise. It's a good bit of directing from Mr. Hamilton.
You got to have your own spin on it.
Yeah, I agree. So we're having a drink here and we say bottoms up.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in Anders' hotel room. And we do a bottoms up into just one of the most pervy screen transitions ever, into a literal bottom of a woman sort of doing an erotic dance somewhere in a club called the Bottoms Up Club, Kyle.
Yes.
It's a double meaning.
Okay, yeah. Because she says, I'm going to exchange these bullets at this dingy nightclub. That's where I'm going to meet Scaramanga.
Yes.
Because, yeah, okay. Also, this lady's role, because as established by Lulu in the song, love needs to come before the kill. So, Scaramanga, before he does an assassination job, he always wants to make love, as it were. And that's kind of her role. Yeah. Because it helps his aim, you see.
Apparently. But I don't think they got busy before he killed Mark Lawrence of Star Trek fame.
Well, she's in the opening as well.
Yeah,
she's
but
there.
they were sunbathing. They weren't getting jiggy with it.
That's true, I suppose.
You know?
Yeah, I don't think it's completely literal, as Lula seems to suggest, but it is a thing that he does as a sort of ritual.
Analysing texts, God.
But yes, all of this is... I guess it's she wants to get Bond or Bond and MI6 involved, so she engineers a situation where Bond will find him as he kills this solar power guy. Is that her plan?
Possibly. I don't really know what she's got an interest in the Solex device for.
I think she knows that MI6 is after the Solex thing, so they want to make sure that Bond is there to investigate that, but also there's already an MI6 agent with that guy, so...
Lieutenant Hip?
I don't know. Lieutenant Hip, they're the man in Hong Kong, yeah.
Now, this is where he's standing outside the nightclub, Bond is. He's standing across the street, and then Knick-Knack comes up behind Bond, and Bond thinks nothing of him, and this is where Bond's been spotted, because Knick-Knack knows who Bond is. And this is actually quite a good bit of misdirecting here on the part of the film.
It's good, yeah. This is why I say this movie has some good espionage stuff in it.
Yeah, because Bond kind of crosses the street slowly to head over to the Bottoms Up Club, and there's two other guys out in the street.
Yeah, and we see that Scaramanga is lighting up a shot, so we assume that the lady has betrayed him and it's like told him all this, right?
Yeah, so
And set him up to die.
Scaramanga's up on the billboard above where Bond was originally standing and is tracing, is following Bond with his golden gun. You know, he's ready to take the shot.
I will say, the golden gun prop, it looks kind of bad. It's not aged super well.
It does look quite spray painted, doesn't it?
Yeah. It does not look particularly gold or particularly like a functioning gun.
If it was a bit more reflective, maybe. You know?
Maybe. Tell you what, though, it's a great prop for video games, isn't it? You got that golden gun, one-shot kill, good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, it is.
It was almost built for video games.
This is where my friend Stuart bought the golden gun prop when we were in London, you know? We got some wonderful pictures with that prop.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lovely... Actually, I argue the prop he bought was better than the prop in this film.
The one in the movie?
Yeah, absolutely.
More than likely, yeah.
More than likely. So in my notes here, I'm going, Bond, Scaramanga's above you, it's a trap!
Uh-huh.
And Scaramanga is... Because at this point, I'm saying that he's quite a... For such a good assassin, he's quite a lousy shot. Because he shot someone else, not Bond. But it was deliberate. He wasn't aiming at Bond.
It was the real target. Yeah.
Scaramanga's never, ever had a contract against Bond, is what we find out, obviously, when Andrews actually is the one that sent the golden bullet.
Scaramanga didn't even know Bond was there.
No, Scaramanga has nothing against Bond. He's heard of him. He's got the waxwork figure of him in his home. But, like...
Well, he kind of respects Bond as, like, an equal, as a peer.
Yeah. He's just like, listen, Bond, I think probably, we talk about this later on, but he's like, it'd be better if, like, we never actually meet again. I'm not here to really kill you, actually. I appreciate your work. You just stay out of my way.
I respect you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If this was a Marvel show, he would be like the Punisher, and like we would turn Scaramanga to our side.
Uh-huh.
He's an anti-hero.
Well, yeah, his real target is the sort of like solar power scientist man who's invented this special super solar power device.
Yes, and
that's really the best way I can put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's just lying there dead now.
Isn't it crazy that 1974 we were already making movies about like the energy crisis and stuff like that?
Not
it's
really.
Like, for some reason, to me, that feels like a modern thing, but I guess it's not. It's been around for a long time.
Yeah,
we still just don't give a shit.
You've got into like your
apparently.
nuclear power plants and stuff. Jimmy Carter, famously in the 70s, when he became the president of the United States, he put solar panels on the roof of the White House. Then Ronald Reagan took them off again. Like,
I guess it's just perspective. Like, we've known this was an issue for a long time, and we're still not doing anything about it. Oh, yeah, this movie's real. Like, solar power. That's the future.
Solar cars.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. This movie comes down on a side, you know?
Yeah, this movie is pro-solar power.
And maybe it would be the future if in certain places in the world we had better sun. Solar power certainly wouldn't work where I live,
Not a future for the UK, yeah.
Not a future for you, and certainly not a future for where you live when you have a snow blizzard.
No, it's true.
If snow power could be a thing, though, God, you'd be loving
Snow power. Oh, that would be great, yeah. Snow energy, yeah.
So the escort of the solar scientist who is killed arrests Bond, accuses him of firing the bullet. And this is where we're going, no, are the police, are they working with Scaramanga? Because it's so clear Bond didn't do the shoot, you know, didn't take the shot.
Yeah, it seems like a setup.
He's taken away.
Like Bond has been framed.
They don't go to the police station.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't go to the police station, or they get taken on a boat. And then they arrive at the sunken ship, Kyle. And then there's a tannoy.
Yeah, and Bond...
Welcome aboard, Commander Bond.
Bond thinks he's making like a dramatic escape onto the ship, and then the tannoy comes over. It's like, oh, welcome aboard.
Yeah, welcome aboard. You're meant to be here. Now this
Nathan,
base feels like a parody.
I love it. I think it's great.
This feels like something I would see in Austin Powers.
I mean, sure, but that's because Austin Powers is a parody of Bond, right?
Yes, but this just is like ridiculous. This is why it feels like parody. Like all the offices and all that are like pivoted the right way up relative to the sunken ship, but all the corridors are still slanted sideways.
Yeah, it's a half sunken ship, but they've built like a sort of solid floor in the middle of it. I love it, and they set it up as like this is the best place to put a base because like we're outside of radar range. We're technically in international waters, and we can spy on China.
How is Hong Kong Bay in international waters?
No, it's not. But it's like
I think that's what they say, though. I think you're right.
Yeah, but I don't know. Whatever. I just like this sort of. It feels very Cold War to set up a base here. It's like, yeah.
I think
no one will suspect us in this sunken ship.
Secret base. It's not even secret. Just have a public base.
Well, look, Nathan. You have the secret base that they know about, and then you have the actual secret base that they don't know about. You know, this is double level espionage stuff.
Double level espionage on a comedy sidewind sunken ship. Because like they're walking down the
I think it's
corridors,
great.
they're all pivoted sideways. They walk into room doors that are like distorted upwards. It looks like something out of a Tim Burton movie. And then they've got these platforms and these side twisted rooms where they can put tables and sit properly at them. Which is where we meet Q and M and the other scientist man.
Nathan, they certainly put a slant on things, okay?
Oh God. Oh God. No. I don't like that. Well, what do we talk about here?
Well, this is where we reveal what's happening, which is for Bond wasn't actually arrested. This other guy, he is I don't know if he's actually an MI6 agent or he just works with MI6.
I think he works for the Hong Kong police.
Yeah, he's their man on the inside of the Hong Kong police, and he realized who Bond was immediately and was like, okay, I have to get Bond out of this situation. So he quickly pulls an arrest to bring him to this base where Q and M, yeah, because the guy that was shot was the solar power energy, which was the original mission that Bond was on before he was taken off, which I think is just a coincidence.
Yes, yes, that's true. That is what happens there. And we get told all about the Solex device that he was working on.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're told that his investor or something lives in Bangkok.
Yeah, they deduced that the person who was most likely to want the solar power man died was like I assume he's like an oil baron, probably. I think that's what they deduce, is like someone who has an interest in solar power not taking off as an industry.
Yes.
And it is this guy called High Fat. Which, is that a joke? It has to be a joke, right?
It's gone over my head if it is.
Like high fat count? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. I think his daughter's name's a joke.
Oh my god, yes.
So we go to
is
his
that
house.
his daughter, or is it just like a lady that's in his house?
No, it's his daughter. It's his daughter. She's called Chumi.
Well, that makes it so much weirder that she's swimming naked in a pool, if it's his daughter.
I'm pretty sure it's his daughter.
Great. But yeah, her name is Chumi. If you thought Fuck Me in Austin Powers was a bit, it's not even that far off the actual names in the actual Bond movies.
Yeah, pretty much. Uh-huh. But I thought she was going to become like a character.
No, it's just a bit part.
It's just a bit part. Someone called Chumi. Bond's going to go swimming with her. Then High Fat comes down and it's like...
Well, yes, so Bond is playing off the fact that no one knows what Scaramanga looks like, so he has Q make a fake nipple for him.
Yeah, so he now pretends to be Scaramanga.
Yeah, and luckily he found an excuse to take his shirt off and show everyone that he had a third nipple.
Yep, and then High Fat goes, I thought we had agreed never to meet, Mr. Scaramanga, you know? But then Bond seems
Bond
a tad...
hypes himself up.
Yeah, Bond seems a tad upset because High Fat's like, I've never heard of the secret agent, Mr. Bond, who you're talking of, Scaramanga. And then Bond, obviously being Scaramanga's like, oh, he could be a lot of trouble for us, you know, he's quite
He's
bad.
one of the best.
Yeah, he's one of the best agents out there. And I actually think Roger Moore here does a pretty good I'm a Baddie performance. Like, he sounds quite intimidating. I'd be scared of Roger Moore.
You think it's Bond being good spy, but then it turns out Bond, he's been out twisted. He's been double twisted because High Fat actually does know Scaramanga.
Yeah, because so High Fat is like, thank you, Scaramanga, for this assistance.
Yeah, maybe High Fat should go into espionage. He's pretty good straight face. And obviously this guy showed up pretending to be Scaramanga. It's like, well, obviously this guy isn't Scaramanga, but I'll play along for now to see what this guy's up to.
Absolutely. So Bond goes back to his hotel beforehand, and he has a drink with Miss Goodnight.
Yes.
And they have a back and forth about, you know, being together, but this time next month they'll be on opposite sides of the world and it would never work out between the two of them. And she's kind of like not willing to play up to it, but Bond seems like actually he quite likes her. And she's like, you know, I know passing time is your speciality or something like that.
Yeah. I kind of wonder about this Goodnight character. I always wonder if they're kind of trying to set her up as like a new Moneypenny, as like a sort of like recurring character. I don't think she is, but... There's some parts of this movie where I wonder if they intended to bring this character back later.
Yeah, she gets quite a lot of screen time for a Bond girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she is already, I guess she's like a liaison agent, not like a full spy.
Yeah, she's like an intelligence person. She works in the office. Because this is where they say that, you know, she's got a dress that's, you know, made by Q branch, etc. Or is that later in the film?
I think that's here.
That's here.
She has a tracking device in her dress.
Yeah. It's like it's got a Homer in the bottom button. Then he says she jokes that like one of her buttons on the back of her dress is actually a suicide capsule.
Yeah, she was talking to Felix Leiter, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. That Bond's another like Scaramanga type. Everyone in that agency talks about him.
But yeah, so what's the guy's name?
Hip.
Hip.
Yep.
He drops off Bond at the evil man's house along with his nieces.
He brings his two nieces along because he says that High Fat's house is on the way to dropping off his nieces home, and they're sitting in the back and they're like waving and being flirty with Bond in the back seat, and he's just like, "This is." I think even Bond thinks this is quite weird.
Yes, I agree.
But Bond
it's weird to bring your nieces along on your espionage mission,
Yes.
but I guess this guy, he's got family commitments.
He does.
I understand
He's
that.
a family man. But Bond, on the way up to High Fat's house, when he's inside the compound, sees all these kind of like statues standing still. And he sees two sumo wrestlers, but they're not actually statues; they're real. And he has a fight with two sumo wrestlers. He gives one of them a big wedgie.
He does, yes.
And then one of the little sort of like water fountain feature statues is actually Knick-Knack.
Yes.
And he's got a trident.
He bashes him over the back of the head with a trident.
I think he'd be a good Aquaman. I like his little turquoise and black striped swim shorts.
I like how, just like Scaramanga, Knick-Knack is highly competent. He knows all this shit. He knows what's about.
Yeah.
He comes up to these two sumo wrestlers like, "You guys are pathetic. I'm a tiny man and I just beat this guy and you guys couldn't manage it."
But then he's going to kill them. And this is where High Fat pops out and says, "Nope, don't kill him here. Take him to school."
Yeah, he doesn't want to. I understand that. He's like, "I don't want to murder in the middle of my house. I got to clean up all this blood. It's bad for business, right?" I don't understand why he takes him to a karate school. This is the part where the movie goes a bit off the rails.
What I find strange here, actually, is that, like, Knick-Knack says to the sumo wrestlers, "Bring him over to this big table for me to stab him with the trident." But you were standing right next to him, then walked away to stand on top of the stone table. Why didn't you just stab him there and then?
It does go a bit like ritual sacrifice.
Yeah. Like, if you just killed him there and then, you would have done it before High Fat said don't, and it would have been over. But no, you had to play for time to let High Fat walk down. And then, I think all this judo school nonsense is just some of the film tourism leaking in.
Yeah, it's like, we really like those Bruce Lee movies. We're going to do one for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that my notes kind of stop here for a little while. You can talk about this all you like.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay, first of all, Bond is like, he wakes up and he's being sort of attended to by ladies, and he seems very calm about the fact that he's just been kidnapped. And, he's not like immediately rushing for the exit for some reason. I guess it's just like, he's like us. He's like, what the hell am I doing here? He's trying to figure it out.
Yeah, this is the bit where Bond is aware he's in a film.
Yeah. But yeah, we see all these karate men come out. There's two students. One of them kills the other. And then they summon Bond up and he beats his first opponent by he doesn't honor the fighting tradition. He just kicks the guy while he's doing his bow. But then they bring out the black belt guy. And he does actually kick Bond's ass quite a bit, because Bond, he's pretty good at scuffle, but he's no karate master,
He's no karate master, I think that's so true. He does give a nice kick,
Yeah, he does throw in some sort of like classic British boxing moves as well, which I find quite fun.
Yes,
sort of like put him up, old chap, that kind of style.
But I do enjoy Bond standing here because Hip and his two nieces show up, and he's just getting ready for a fight.
Bond dives out a window
to
escape, and somehow, Hip, I can't forget his name because it's not a name. Who's called Hip? I mean, I'm going to sound really mean if that's like an actual Hong Kong name. But like, to my English ears, that's not a name. But sure. He doesn't have a last name either.
Keep
He's
in
just
mind
Hip.
right now, we're in Bangkok.
Are we in Bangkok? I thought we were still in Hong Kong at this point.
I thought we went to Bangkok because this is... in my notes here, I've got we're off to Bangkok before we meet Chu Mi. This is... I'm sure we go to Bangkok.
Okay, if we're either or, I mean, Hip clearly lives in both, so I don't know.
He lives in both worlds, yes. But his nieces are proficient in martial arts, and Bond...
Yeah, because everyone knows karate.
Yeah, Bond doesn't need to do anything.
Yeah, he does like the manly, like, stay behind me girls thing, and then they stand in front of him and start beating the shit, which is a fun inversion, especially for a 70s movie.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
The schoolgirls are doing karate and kicking the shit out of everyone.
Well, we then run to Hip's car, and everyone just gets in, and they drive away without Bond.
This is bonkers. I do not understand why
Hip
drives off without Bond.
What a crazily incompetent thing to do. Did he decide it's too dangerous to wait for you any more seconds or my nieces are going to die?
I guess that's it. Yeah, he's like, I gotta save my nieces, so Bond, you're on your own.
But Bond's right at the car. He closes one of the car doors for one of the girls. Give him a second.
I know, it's so weird. But Nathan, this is obviously so... And I honestly, I a sense of dread filled me when Bond jumped on a boat. I'm like, oh god, it's happening again.
Well, when he activates the engine of this little powered boat. He says,
Oh, yes.
what you might call a Mexican screw-off, gentleman.
Like a Mexican standoff?
Yeah, because he uses like the boat propeller as like a blade to keep everyone away while it spins up, and then he puts it down into the water, and the boat takes off.
That's one of the most incomprehensible Bond quips I think we've got so far. It's like, what were you even trying to get at there, Bond?
Well, we pass like tourist ships, and there's this little child trying to sell like a wooden elephant sculpture to these people. Then when people in that boat aren't interested, he just dives off the boat and jumps onto the ship.
This kid's a badass.
Yeah, and this looks like it's all done for real. Like, it's really insane, actually. And then, like, why would you, a tourist, want to buy a soaking wet wooden elephant statue? You know, that's just literally come out of the river.
It's the river version of those like car door salesmen that they come up and they're like trying to grab stuff into you. You know, I've seen this before. Foreign
concept to me. I've never seen this before. Especially not at sea. Or not in the water.
He jumps on Bond's boat because Bond's engine is scrapped out and he's like, I'll sell you this elephant. And Bond's like, well, tell you what, kid, I'll give you $20,000 if you can get this boat to go any faster.
And then the kid just turns this little valve and this boat picks up speed, and then Bond says, I'll have to owe you, and he throws the kid overboard.
Yes.
Which is just horrific. And the kid's like, you know, oh, bloody tourists.
Well, Nathan, speaking of bloody tourists. Because who should appear on the docks but fucking J.W. Pepper in his little Hawaiian holiday shirt.
And his wife.
And his wife, Mary Bell.
They're on another little tourist boat at this point.
Are they?
Yeah.
I thought they were buying elephants on the docks.
That's what happens later. They get off the boat and that's where they buy it.
Right, yeah.
Because we kind of cut back and forward because he sees Bond.
Just like the last boat chase, J.W. Pepper becomes the main character for a few minutes, and we just keep following his adventures.
Yeah, they give him a lot more to do here. You know, and he's speaking to his wife, and you're right, so they get off the boat, and his wife sees these little wooden elephants, and J.W.'s like, why would you want to buy an elephant? We're Democrats!
I don't believe you.
I somehow doubt that, JW. Maybe.
I mean, I'm shocked that J.W. Pepper has a passport. I'm so shocked he's ever left Louisiana, to be honest.
Listen, his wife is trying to make an honest man out of him. And
right, okay.
I just, like, maybe back in 1961, because that's pre the Civil Rights Act, maybe he's a Democrat. Maybe. But he so strikes me as he'd have a MAGA hat on today.
Well, I guess he's subverting expectations.
He is.
Also, he is a cop, so he's totally like a thin blue line type guy as well. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
He has the Punisher skull in his cop car.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But like, I just think this is just like, why you're even calling it Democrats? Imagine like someone in a Bond movie going, "Oh, we support the Labour Party." You know, it just be so wild. I think maybe they're really leaning into like the British audience laughing at Americans in this film.
Yeah, I mean, like in 1974 was J.W. Pepper the height of comedy? Is this what?
Yeah, because he says like you wouldn't get away with doing this in my bayou, you know?
Yeah,
which is just.
But like.
He's used to wrestling
all the
gamers.
Characters to bring back. I would take Felix Leiter over J.W. Pepper, you know? Why is J.W. Pepper here, Nathan?
I'll tell you what, because J.W. Pepper leaves an impression and gives something to talk about. If Felix Leiter showed up, we'd go, oh, it was Felix, and then get on with the film.
Oh, it's another Felix.
Oh, it's some
other guy.
Yeah, and this is the same J.W. Pepper. We get the same actor back here. But
it is the same actor,
there's a real elephant on this dock, and it's sort of like trying to pickpocket J.W. And he's like, get out of there, you smelly varmint. And then the elephant sort of pushes JW into the river.
Yes.
And then
the elephant tries to murder JW Pepper, which I approve of.
Which you approve of. I quite like JW Pepper in this film.
I think he's slightly more endearing in this film than he was in Live and Let Die.
Because he's out of the uniform.
I'll give him that.
And
he's out of uniform. He's more openly silly as opposed to like. I mean, he's openly silly in the last movie, but like I don't know. There's something a little bit less annoying about it this time.
Yeah.
I feel like I can understand what he's saying more in this movie.
Well, then the final shot is of his wife, who has in fact now bought the wooden elephant statue, And then we think, okay, that's J.W. Pepper out of the movie. That was just a little vignette for J.W.
A little cameo. Oh boy,
Yeah,
if only.
If only. But now we cut back to Scaramanga and High Fat having a meeting. And
and Scaramanga's not very impressed that he let Bond escape.
yeah, and High Fat's like, I had this mausoleum that I intend to be put in one day. It's a lovely mausoleum, but hopefully not for a long time to come. Like, you're going to get Bond for me. But Scaramanga's sitting here deconstructing his golden gun and reconstructing it and all that, because it's a gun that breaks apart.
Well, High Fat's like, well, technically you work for me, Scaramanga, and you got to remember the place of power and all this, right? And it's like, well, yeah, you signed your death warrant there, buddy. You should have kept up a gentlemanly business relationship with Scaramanga.
But then Scaramanga just shoots High Fat, and then someone comes rushing in and going, "What happened?" And he says, "Mr. Fat has just resigned. I'm now the chairman of the board." Which is just okay. Well, I guess that's how that works
that's how that works in the criminal underworld.
Yeah, but High Fat runs like a legitimate
is that guy
business.
going to argue with him?
I thought High Fat had like a legitimate business front, though. Like, you got to get people to sign it. Chairman of the board. Who's the board? Did the other board members get a vote? Did they even get a say? Have they ever met you, Scaramanga? I have questions, and I frankly think that the film should do a better job by actually unraveling some of these plot points.
Nathan, it all works out because Christopher Lee is just so fucking smooth.
If this was You Only Live
lines.
Twice, we would have had more, right? We'd have a lot more.
Sure, but he walks past this mausoleum. He's like, he always did love that mausoleum. Put him in it.
Yeah,
it's great.
Very
Love
smooth, very smooth, Christopher Lee. So, this isn't my notes where we get to Goodnight's dress made by Q Branch with no suicide pill, but it does have a Homer.
We already covered that.
Yeah, we've already covered that. And then Goodnight is now just weak and crumbles to Bond's sensibilities.
Well, yeah, so they end the scene by going like, "Oh, I'll never sleep with you, Bond," and then immediately we cut to Bond's bedroom and she's hiding in the bathroom in a nightie. So it's like, okay, well, it's just like, I guess my hard to get act didn't last very long. It didn't last 5 seconds. Good night.
Yeah, absolutely. But then Anders,
we haven't drawn attention to this, but Mary Goodnight is also just a very silly name.
Yes, it is. But it's played for lots of yucks, isn't it?
It's played for lots of yucks, yeah.
But
this scene though is bonkers.
Yeah, well, this is where Anders then shows up out of nowhere, and Goodnight has to hide under the cushions, under the bed quilt. And Bond says that he uses the old 3-pillow technique and taps her to be like, it's a fake body under there if we don't get assassinated or something. And then Anders admits that she sent the bullet earlier on that we referenced in the film. I'm wondering why that we're only talking about this now and it wasn't revealed earlier on. And then she starts having sex with Bond over this, and Goodnight at this point is hidden in the wardrobe of the bedroom, and she's got to stay in there for 2 hours.
There's a weird cuck fetish thing going on here. I don't know about this, man.
Well, she gets out later on and packs up her stuff and leaves, and Bond says, "You'll get yours soon enough," just after Anders tells me what she needs to tell me, But then we cut to like a wrestling ring or boxing ring, and Anders is dead.
Yep, rigor mortis. It really kicked in well.
Yeah.
It did.
It's actually quite haunting at first because he's like, "What's up? What's wrong?" And then he looks
it takes him a good few minutes to notice she's dead.
Yeah, because of like how small the bullet hole is, because it's the 4.2mm bullets. It leaves such a fine. It almost looks like she's just got some jam spilt on her.
Yeah. Okay. It's a haunting shot. I need to understand how this works though. Like, did Scaramanga shoot her sitting here, or did he move the body here? Because if he shot her here, how? Without making a scene?
He stood on the other side of the boxing ring and doesn't miss a shot. It went right through the boxing ring.
But it's a bullet, it would be loud. And secondly, like, she's not like slumped over or anything. She just like stood stock still. Like a wax model.
She all got her makeup done and everything before she came out, and I don't think Nick Naxper going to be particularly good at being a beauty professional, so maybe it was done when she was like ready to leave the hotel, and then they took her here.
Did they like pose her? Maybe.
Listen, we know one thing. It's that Nick Nack and Scaramanga like some bits. They like doing bits. They have a whole funhouse layer,
What's great about this is Bond is like double. There's like some great stuff here because Bond realizes she's dead, and so like puts on an act for the people around of like, "Oh, I must have lost something in your purse, honey." And then Scaramanga sits down, but Bond still doesn't know what Scaramanga looks like, so he just assumes that this is some random guy he has to act.
And he's like, we'll need the receipt to get through customs. And then she's like, he's like, "Oh, it's not in there because it was empty when I looked earlier on." Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, this is also up to what might genuinely be my favourite scene of the movie, of Scaramanga revealing himself to Bond and just having this casual conversation.
Yeah, and then like he's like, I wouldn't get up if I were you, look behind you. And he's like, no, lower. And Knick-Knack's sitting there with a gun and a bag of peanuts.
Gun and a bag of peanuts, how original. What will they think up next? Sure, Bond, sure.
I just think that's some good dry wit. I really like that. And so Scaramanga is just having this chat, and we know, by the way, that Goodnight is standing outside waiting whilst Hip is walking around pretending to be a peanut salesman.
Yes.
And then
so Bond, while they're having this conversation, Bond notices the solar energy device thing that looks like a dongle that you plug into a PC. It's a really crab-looking sprawl.
Yeah, but it's lying on the floor because it fell out of her bag.
Uh-huh.
It fell out of Anders' bag, and he goes to pick it up, but he's like, I can't, because the nuts, he buys some peanuts, drops the peanut bag, and then picks it up and puts the Solex inside Hip's peanut tray. And Scaramanga seems to notice none of this, actually.
No, yeah, this is Bond actually being a good spy.
Yeah.
He does some good sleight of hand here.
And Christopher Lee's explaining about the circus and everything right now, isn't he?
Yeah, he's explaining, and he's like, oh, I grew up in the circus. And he's just like, I really respect you, Bond. We're two people. We're in the same fields. I don't have anything personal against you. It's just like...
I'm probably never going to have to kill you if you just stay out of my way, which is the only reason I can presume that he ever went to kill 002 back in the day. Because
yeah,
002
sure, he was a contract.
Yeah, but he must have got in his way or something, right? But, like, because 007 surely is made criteria to be someone's contract. Spectre would have hired Scaramanga by now.
Well, I forgot that, because when they're first talking about this, M is like, well, who would want to put a contract on me? And I wrote down M's list, which is jealous husbands, outraged chefs, humiliated tailors.
Yeah, it's a fair list. And I love how serious Bond, like, M has great, like, evil demon glare in this film.
M has no respect for Bond whatsoever. It's great. M hates this guy.
M absolutely hates 007, I think. Yeah, I agree with you, but you can't fire him because, like, he gets the job done.
Yeah. It's like, Bond is nothing but a walking liability.
Yeah, well, Hip gives Goodnight the Solex device, and all she needs to do is just leave and we're fine. But no, she sees Knick-Knack leaving the arena and decides to follow Knick-Knack to put a tracker on the car. Has to open the boot for some reason. Then
I don't know why she has to open the boot.
Then Scaramanga shows up because he's left Bond in the arena, and she just gets tipped in the boot, and then they drive away. But she's also got the car keys for Hip and Bond's car, the Merc they were driving.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, so now we gotta we're without a car. Goodnight has been hostage by Scaramanga and Knick-Knack. They're driving away. We need a car, don't we, Kyle?
Mm-hmm. Well, yes, Bond notices across the road there's like a car dealership, and so he nicks one of the cars that's about to be tested, and Nathan, who the fuck is buying this car?
J.W. Pepper. I don't even know if he's buying the car. I think he's just
is
like...
Is it a car rental place?
It could be a car rental. It could be a car rental place, or maybe he's just like on holiday and he's just like a car nut, so like his wife's like, fine, go fucking look at the cars,
Yeah, Mrs. Pepper is not in this scene.
Yeah, so she's like just pretending that she's interested because she's excuse to he's looking for an excuse to just get a little free joyride, right? And he's like, can I get a demonstration? And then you hear this aloof British voice go, of course, sir. And it's Bond.
Uh-huh.
And then this is where we go for our little drive. And JW is like, I recognize you. You're that secret agent from England. That English agent. And
it's a good line.
JW says, I'm with you all the way, boy. He's...
Oh, yeah. This is the highlight of his holiday.
Yeah.
He's going on a secret agent murder investigation.
So he calls it, he's like, call up my wife, tell her I've been deputized. Oh, no, that's why it is, because she speaks to Goodnight over the phone again to make sure they're still within range, and say we're on it.
They have a walkie-talkie with her. And
then so JW is like, who's that on the walkie-talkie? And then Bond's just like, oh, it's HQ. And so we're having this back and forth here, and JW then says, tell my wife I've been deputized. No longer the Louisiana State Police.
And we got to Goodnight in the boot. It's just like, what the fuck is happening in that car? Who is this?
And Bond also seems quite confused as to what's going on, really. But
Yeah, Bond is like, I guess I vaguely remember this guy.
yeah, kind of, not really. But then,
Yeah.
like, JW's telling Bond to speed up. He's basically accusing Bond of being a crap driver.
Yeah.
And then when
Oh, yeah,
we go down the wrong lane and they're on the other side of the river and there's no bridge nearby, JW's got the cheek to tell Bond, "You goofed, boy. You done goofed."
Even though he's the one who told him to turn down that way.
Yep, absolutely. And then at this point, like, Bond's just sort of putting up with JW because, you know, I guess he's an ally at least.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he sees this like broken bridge and he stops and turns around and JW's like, the bridge is that way, boy. And then he's like, "You're not thinking." And then Roger Moore does in a southern Louisiana accent, "I sure am, boy." See, there's the good
James
back
Bond's
and forward.
James Bond is having fun.
This because I think this car chase is quite boring actually. So I think this JW stuff really lifts it up. Apart from here, we do you ever heard of Evel Knievel, JW? And Bond can now speak JW, is what I've put here. This is like when everyone can
I think
finally
this is an
understand
okay car chase purely because of the Golden Gun music cue that plays over it, which is always a highlight.
Mm-hmm. So we do an Evel Knievel like fucking half barrel spin on this broken bridge, and there's a slide whistle.
And for some reason, there's a slide whistle. It's so out of place.
That is so out of place, isn't it?
It's just a very strange editing choice. Like, I guess we need a noise here. Someone put a slide whistle. I don't know.
And then JW sort of in the back of the
that's
car.
Why Guy Hamilton regrets the movie.
The slide whistle.
Like, I insisted on that slide whistle, and man, it was a mistake. Never live that down. But yeah, so they catch up to Scaramanga. He drove into a garage on the side of the road, and they're trying to get in. But this is when the police catch up to them, and J.W. Pepper's like, "Oh, I'll deal with them. This is my department." And he pulls out his cop badge, and obviously they don't give a shit because they're the Hong Kong police. They don't give a shit about some Louisiana sheriff.
I'm sure we're in
So they
Thailand
arrest
at this
him immediately.
point.
Oh, sure. But yeah, they don't give a shit, so they just arrest him immediately. They don't arrest Bond, though, so...
They hate the loud, brash American fat tourist, I bet.
Probably,
This is all done at the expense of Americans, I think.
Sure, yeah, this is you, America.
Yeah, this is you, America, yeah. Because they put that, and he's like, "Hey, give me my wallet back!" So he gets immediately arrested, but Scaramanga has a flying car that comes out of this hangar during all this, and they fly away.
Well, he builds like a plane on top of the car he was driving. It's like a whole setup in here.
Yeah, it is. But then JW is like, "I'll get my lawyers, I'll get the police, I'll get the FBI, I'll get the Rangers, I'll get Henry Kissinger on you." Which is just crazy. This is so commentary of America in the 70s and 60s. Henry Kissinger only died last year. Like, it's crazy, right? People like that's when he was relevant still.
Yeah.
Like, this is so meant to be at the expense of American audiences. I'm just so sure of this because this was such a British audience focused movie. The movie industry's changed so much.
But yeah, so Scaramanga, he escapes on his flying plane, and everyone just kind of watches like, I guess there's nothing we can do about that.
We cut to
And
M
then
looking incredibly horrified at all this.
Well, Goodnight is... First of all, we have Goodnight in the car. It's like, "Oh, I think we stopped. Can you not feel that you're in a jet plane now, Goodnight? You think you've stopped?" Because she opens the boot and she realizes she's in the sky. She's like, "Well, I guess I'm closing the boot again."
Probably a smart move.
I mean, yes, but I just think it's crazy that she thought she had stopped. Can you not feel movement, Goodnight? You don't feel the pressure changes?
Well, maybe she can't. I don't know what
Maybe
it'd
she
be
can't,
like to
I
be in a
guess.
flying car.
Probably like what it's like to be in the plane, to be honest.
I don't know if it would pressurise the same way, frankly. But M is like, "How has this happened? How has this been allowed to happen?" And we're like, "Well, actually, sir, the concept of flying car isn't that ridiculous." And M's not having it. He's like, "Oh, shut up, Q," which I thought was a bit rough.
M tells Q to shut up.
Which I think is quite rough.
M is real pissed.
Yeah, he's really pissed off. M doesn't want to hear any of this nonsense. But then they finally bring M round, and it's like, "Listen, we think we know where he is. Just give me a plane." And there's these like chain of like islands in Thailand that I've seen. I think like they've been here in like Top Gear and stuff before. Like, this is actually a very beautiful tourist destination. But
Very much
for
so,
for the purposes of this movie back in the 70s anyway, these were isolated sort of stacks of islands.
Yeah, and Bond has to go in alone because like this is Chinese airspace, and they're not allowed to send in the army to seize the island. But they can kind of like let Bond go off the books. It's like, oh, I'm just a pilot who accidentally flew into these skies.
Exactly. So when we land, he's immediately met by Knick Knack, who's got a bottle of Dom Perignon.
Well, yeah, first of all, we establish like that the Chinese immediately see him, but they're in touch with Scaramanga, and so Scaramanga says, oh, just let him land. Will he be leaving? Nope.
Yeah. Yeah, because he says that he lives here rent-free, he just does some occasional bits of jobs for the landlords.
Yeah.
When we land here, he's immediately met by Knick Knack, who's got a bottle of Dom Perignon. By the way, I looked up how much this bottle costs. In today's money, this bottle of Dom Perignon is £200.
That's an expensive.
It's an expensive bottle of Dom Perignon, and I would love to try it, but no, I'm not paying that money. Now, the bottle gets shot, and we're like, oh my god, they just missed Bond. It's Scaramanga shooting the cork off to welcome him here, and it just overflows, fizzes up. Knick Knack doesn't even flinch, and because he's not using the golden gun, he drops it down on the tray and goes, oh, this is just a toy, don't worry, Bond. You know, because he won't dare kill you without use of the golden gun.
I love Christopher Lee's performance of all of this. He's like genuinely excited to show Bond around his secret base.
Yeah, he's very giddy.
He likes having a contemporary around who understands all this stuff. You know?
I know them Spectre bases you've been to over the years.
I know you respect a good secret base, Bond.
Yeah, absolutely. So like we show him like our House of Horror, and then it's liquid helium powered, and Scaramanga doesn't really know what any of this does.
I like that too. Scaramanga's like, oh, I invested in all this stuff. I don't really understand how it works, but it seems like a good profit margin.
Yeah, exactly. It's all just to make money. That's why he's got the Solex device. He's like committed murder to acquire it, but really he's just planning on selling solar power to the world. Yeah,
it does. As far as evil Bond plots go, it's not the worst I've ever heard. If anything, it could even be spun as a positive. He's bringing solar power to the world.
Kyle, as discussed, the real villain of the piece is capitalism.
It's capitalism. Yeah, this is a classic capitalism as a real villain. Because as Bond points out, it's like, well, there are some oil barons who would probably pay twice that much to make sure it doesn't hit the market. And Scaramouche's like, well, the thought had occurred to me.
Well, just to make sure that you really know that he's actually the baddie here, they give him a laser gun, you know?
Yes, he does have a laser gun,
a big laser
which
turret.
Only comes up once. He just uses to blow up the plane.
Yeah, and he says, you could now really call me the man with the golden gun. That's what I call solar power.
Even though, you literally have a golden gun. Man.
Yeah,
you're already the man with the golden gun.
Yeah, it was more literal. You've just now made it metaphorical.
Yeah.
But this is where we're reintroduced to Goodnight, and she's overdressed in a bikini, and then Scaramanga's like, I quite like this. It means that she's definitely not got any weapons on her, you know?
Yes. It's definitely not because I'm just a big pervert. Don't worry about
Christopher Lee would never.
I'll tell you who is a big pervert, though. That random guy that Scaramanga has working on the solar power.
Yes, he is, with his big handlebar mustache.
Yes. Another classic 70s guy, that guy.
Yes, it totally is.
But yeah, so Christopher, Scaramanga, he wants to duel Bond, because this will be like the ultimate test if he can kill James Bond.
Yeah, not part of a contract, just part of good sport.
Yeah, so he sets up like a classic sort of at sunset duel with Bond. My golden gun versus your Walter PPK.
Absolutely.
Which it's funny to me because, like, obviously the Walter PPK is the iconic Bond gun, but surely in universe it's just a gun, you know? It's just like a regular standard issue spy gun.
A regular pistol, because Knick Knack's even counting down how many bullets he's got left as the fight goes on.
Mm-hmm.
Knick Knack's like, you've only got 3 bullets left, Mr. Bond, ha 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 ha, because we're really bringing it back to the start of the film.
Yeah, we look back to the start of the film, it's set up and payoff.
Yeah, it's like poetry.
It's like poetry, it rhymes.
Thanks, George.
Knick Knack's the key to all of this. He's a funnier character than we've ever done before.
Knick Knack really is George Lucas.
But yeah, so funnily enough, Christopher Lee, once they actually start this duel, he just sort of runs off. I assume we don't see it, but he sort of scampers away like a little gremlin
I presume
counting the faces.
I presume he's like running away the same way like Nosferatu walks, with like his hand out in front of him, you know?
Yes. Because, yeah, he wants to lure... I don't know why he bothers with the whole duel setup thing. You could have just opened with the fun house, but...
Maybe he's worried that like Bond wouldn't be that into it.
Yeah, he likes his theatrics.
Yeah, he thinks like maybe Bond couldn't resist a good honourable old-timey duel, because that's like, pistols at dawn, very cool. But then like when you bring him into like a fucking light show funhouse with waxwork figures, he goes, what the fuck is this? You need to get him to agree and it's too late.
And for some reason they're keeping Goodnight in the liquid helium room. I don't know why she isn't like anywhere else.
In a locked room.
Frankly, but yeah. But she's in the care of weird handlebar mustache man.
Yeah, she is.
Who I don't think that guy has a single line of dialogue.
He doesn't.
just
I
sort of
think he does
stands
get
there.
a name at first. I just never noted it down though.
Yeah. But yeah, so we go through all the funhouse stuff again. Just a really great tense scene. I really like all this stuff where it's like there's tricks with mirrors and all this.
Yeah, I enjoy
and
all the
Knick-Knack
mirror
is
work.
obviously teasing Bond the whole way through.
Yeah, every ability fires. Knick-Knack's like, you're one shot closer to death, Bond.
Yeah, and as set up earlier, Scaramanga, he has a model of Bond, a very life-accurate model.
It's a very good
And at
waxwork
some
model,
point-
it really is.
Yes. And at some point, Knick-Knack loses Bond on the cameras and he can't find him. He's like, where did Bond go? He comes through, and Scaramanga is coming through, and he's disguised as the model. It's great. It's great stuff. I love it.
Yeah, it really is. It's like someone thought about this film.
It's like someone thought about this film. Set up all the way at the beginning, and it pays off at the
Absolutely,
end. It's good.
yeah. It's really good, actually. So, is that F to Scaramanga?
That is F to Scaramanga.
F to Scaramanga. RSVP Francesco Scaramanga.
But yeah, so at the same time, Goodnight mounts her own escape attempt, and she throws Handlebar Mustache Man into the
Liquid nitrogen.
pit of liquid nitrogen. Yeah,
Or liquid helium, I
Which-
think it is. And it's like,
It's-
it's starting a chain reaction with body heat, and it's just getting hotter
Yeah.
and hotter and hotter, and it's going to explode.
personally, Nathan, I would have put up a railing, but that's
You know, film villains aren't allowed to do that, you know?
yeah. So just these open vats, put some bars over the top of them. If something falling in
This
can
is what-
throw
this
up,
is what
can
killed-
make the entire thing explode.
This is what killed Dr. No.
But yeah, no. But Goodnight, she has quips. She has quips. She says, what is it? Oh, I laid him out cold.
Yep.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Right.
But then it immediately backfires.
Bond's finding this somewhat
So-
less funny.
Well, Nathan, we can't have a woman be too competent in a Bond film, can we? Because even if she does manage to murder one of the guys, it has to be a mistake, actually, because Bond has to be the hero.
Naturally.
You getting some messages there, buddy?
I was hoping you weren't going to mention it. Yeah. Yeah. It's fine. We don't talk about it.
Mr. Popular over
I
here?
try not to be okay. And by the way, the person who just messaged was a listener of the show, so I'm sure
Okay.
they will know exactly what they said.
Right.
We're recording this just after 5 p.m. on a Sunday. They'll know.
But yeah, so this is Bond still wants to recover the little solar cube thing. And so we have like a scene here, which like at this point it's like Scaramanga's dead, and like, okay, I guess like I feel like the tension's kinda resolved at this point, but sure.
Yeah.
But Goodnight, she hits her bum on a button and almost kills Bond. So isn't that something?
In some ways, it would have been justified.
In some ways it would have been, I agree.
But Bond's got to try and get the Sol X device out of the ground.
It's like behind the thing and he has to unscrew it and there's a big laser.
But
that-
we
it's like the power of the sun.
yeah, in the palm of his hand. Well, listen, we get it, don't we, Caitlin? We just escape on Scaramanga's boat just in time. But Knick-Knack's
Yeah, he
unaccounted
has like an
for.
old fashioned sailboat.
Yeah, it does have a power engine on it, though.
Right.
And he says, "Who's driving the boat, Bond?" You know, because Bond comes down to see her in the bedroom.
Automated pilot. I don't know if Bond is serious or he's just making
Yeah.
a joke. It's like, I'm just letting it go.
Yeah, just I don't care where we end up. Yeah, and she says, "I've always wanted to be in a slow boat to China or from China."
Yeah, we get a classic post-revelation. The goon, the number one henchman. This is usually a thing that happens in the
Yeah,
Bond
this was
movies.
Teehee last week.
It was Teehee last week. It was Kleb that one time.
It was Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd and Diamonds Are Forever.
Mr. Wint and Mr. Kidd. Yeah, it's a common occurrence. The goon, the last-minute goon reveal.
Yeah, well, Knick-Knack's still alive on the ship, and this ship's all sort of decked out for Knick-Knack, apparently, because maybe him and Scaramanga would like to joust during their boat rides, because it's got tons of little
Sure,
compartments
yeah.
that only Knick-Knack would fit in.
Yeah, little sneaky ways around.
Yeah,
Again, though, Knick-Knack doesn't come in with a gun. He comes in with a knife.
he likes a bit of sport, you know?
Then Bond eats him with a suitcase.
Yes, he does.
Which is one of those I don't think would actually work,
And
but he manages it. He just sort of opens the suitcase and kind of shoves him into
Yeah,
it.
and then like Knick-Knack's like, "I'll kill you if you don't let me out of here. You know, I can't breathe in here, you idiot. What are you doing?" "What do you mean? What is he doing, Knick-Knack? You tried to just kill him moments ago." And this whole time, Goodnight's just like hiding in the corner, and there's like vases being smashed everywhere.
Well, yeah, he starts hucking bottles of wine
Yeah,
at them.
absolutely. Yeah, you're right. So he takes him out and then puts him in like some sort of like Iron Maiden cage on the like the mast
It's
of
like
the ship.
It's like the cage that you would hang pirates in.
Yeah, on the mast of the ship. I thought he was going to get thrown overboard in that suitcase. Like,
I also, because Goodnight's like, oh, you didn't. Oh, I did. And I thought the implication was he threw him overboard in the suitcase. But I guess not. It seems like more work to put him in this cage than just throw him overboard. But
doesn't it? Yeah.
I guess they want to bring him back to MI6 to interrogate him and
give
stuff.
him a debrief. Yeah, what do you know? Yeah. This is where we kind of end with Bond on top of a woman, but then the phone rings and Bond's like not looking. Sorry, M's not looking for Bond. It's M on the phone. He's looking to speak to Goodnight, and
well, he wants to make sure that Goodnight got rescued.
Yeah,
you
he
know?
can't just take Bond at his word. He needs to actually speak to her.
I don't understand how M got this number, but sure,
they're all in it together, you know. And yeah, because she's like, "What's the matter, Bond?" And he's like, "Oh, something's just come up." The last scene is just bits after bits after bits.
It's bits after bits. He's on the phone. He's like, "Is Goodnight there, Bond?" "No, she's just coming, sir."
Yeah, crazy. And you just know that M knows exactly what's happening. And he's just got to hold...
Oh yeah, you can see on it, he's dead inside on that phone. He's like, God damn it. I just want to talk to him. I just want to work with some fucking professionals for once.
Yeah. And then like he's like, "Good night, are you there? Good night. Good night, where are you? Good night, sir." And puts the phone down. And bang, that's us. Film over.
Yeah, Bond will return in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Absolutely, yeah. Brilliant. So we both agree this was quite a fun film.
I agree, like, yeah, obviously there's some stuff that's a bit weird, like all the stuff with Andrea Andrews, or whatever her name is, and like why she doesn't reveal things, but overall, I think this is a solid movie. I really like Christopher Lee. I think he has a great back and forth with Roger Moore.
Definitely. I think this is quite a strong entry. I think I might have liked it more than Live and Let Die.
I definitely liked it more than Live and Let Die, but I didn't particularly like Live and Let Die.
I suppose so.
Yeah, no, I think, I don't understand why this one is critically received. I don't know why Guy Hamilton doesn't like it, but there we go.
Yeah, well, that's something for us to do research into. And the listeners at home, you can comment down below and tell us exactly what you thought of this film as well. We don't do that enough, Kyle. We don't try and get audience interaction.
We don't ask for comments, it's true. Like and subscribe.
Hit that bell. Yeah.
Hit the bell. Nathan, where can people find you on the internet?
People online can find me every week, every day, everywhere on social media hosting platforms like Twitter and Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, Mastodon apparently, and in Kyle's comment section from time to time. Kyle, where can people find you online?
People can, of course, find me at Kyle the Scot on YouTube, where I do video essays and game critiques. I'm currently playing through Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which is hell, so you better subscribe so that it's all worthwhile. And of course, you can find our entire backlog where we've been through all of the Snyderverse movies, all of the X-Verse movies, a bunch of Bond movies at this point. And that's all there for you to love and enjoy.
Right now, it's right here.
It's right there right now. But what's not right there right now is what we'll be doing next week, when we'll see you next time for The Spy Who Loved Me.